So good morning everyone, I am Frenz Nicole Sasotel, and now let's move on to captioning. So I know that you are very familiar what caption is, especially as we are very exposed to it when we post or when we use social media. So as you can observe, in social media, a simple caption is enough. But in photojournalism, caption needs a careful thinking of what to write before posting it. So what is a caption? So captions, or what we called as catlines, are the words that go with an image to explain what's happening in the photo. So in fact, caption is very important as it gives the reader idea of what the photo is all about. Because without a caption, we might get the wrong information or the wrong impression. So captions can either capture the reader's interest or can make them ignore everything you posted or printed. It depends on how you will create your caption. So that's why it's very important to think carefully what to put in the caption. So here are the following points to use that will help you write a caption that will capture the interest of the reader to read your story. So first, of course, you have to check your facts. So make sure that anything stated in the caption is accurate, because one of the most important aspects of any type of journalism is accuracy. So what happens if you use incorrect information is that your photo or your story loses its credibility. So therefore, before uploading or printing any photo captions, make sure that anything you've stated in the caption is accurate. So next is describe something that isn't obvious. So if your photo caption simply describes the visuals in the photo, it will not be good. So for instance, if you have a photo of a sunset and you simply caption it as a sunset, you are not adding any additional information for the reader. So your viewers knows that it is a sunset, so you should not make an obvious caption. Instead, describe details of the photo that are not obvious. You can put the location of where the photo has been taken, the time of day or year, or a specific event that is taking place. So as for the example, take a look at this picture in the right side. So I know that it is very small and it might not be visible in your end, but this picture is from the Facebook page Philippine Star. So this is the perfect example in writing a caption that isn't obvious. So the picture shows a sunset, but the Philippine Star caption stated that sunset by the beach, individuals watch the breathtaking sunset at a beach in Lingayen, Pangasinan on Saturday. So as you can see, Philippine Star didn't just put only sunset, or they didn't only describe what is obvious. Instead, they put the location and the day the event happened. So that's what it means to describe something that isn't obvious. So the third one is do not start the caption with a certain words. So captions should not begin with a certain words like a, an, or the. So for the example, it is not correct to put in a caption like a blue bird in the boreal forest. So instead, you should only put blue bird flying through boreal forest. So you should not include, or you should not begin your caption with some article words like the a, an, or the, because those words are very basic and will take up valuable captioning room when they aren't necessary. So the fourth one is identify the main people in the photo. So if your photo includes important people, identify who they are. If you know their names, include them, unless if they've asked to remain anonymous. So if you don't know their names, you can just put description of who they are. So for example, your photo shows the protesters. So you don't need to name each of them in the caption. You can just describe who they are. So for example, you can put in the caption like protesters on the streets of Washington, D.C. So that's how you should write a caption if you don't know their names. So moreover, of course, it is important to remember that in writing a caption, make sure that any or all names you use are spelled correctly and have the proper title. So the fifth one is be specific as possible. So this advice goes hand in hand with being accurate. So if you are unsure of where the photo was taken or who is in the photo, you should find out. Showing a photo without any specific information may not be useful to the reader, especially if you didn't inform them of the context in which the photo was taken. So next is label historical photo properly. So if you're using an historical photo in your story, make sure it is labeled properly and includes the date. So it is okay if you don't include the exact month or day, but at least include the exact year the photo was taken. So next is use the present tense in a caption. So well, an obvious exception on this part would be of course any historical photos. Because if we're using historical photos, we should be using past tense. And on the other hand, what's good about using the present tense is that knowing that most photos being shown as part of a news story are of things happening right now. So using the present tense in the caption would make sense. And also, the other nice thing about using the present tense is that it portrays a sense of immediacy and increase the impact of the photo to the reader. The eighth one is avoid humor when the photo is not intended to be humorous. So of course, this is very understandable. If the photo you're captioning is of a serious event, don't try to be funny in the caption. Because funny captions should only be used when the photo itself is a joke or of a funny event that is intended to make the reader laugh. So next is write in a conversational language. So journalism in general doesn't use overly complicated language, but it also doesn't use cliches or slang. Captions should follow the same basic language requirements. You should write your captions in a conversational tone, similar to the way you'd address a family member if you were showing them the photo. So you should avoid cliches and slang or even acronyms. Don't use complicated words if they aren't needed. So next is remember to always give credit or citations. So this advice is very common to us especially if we are writing anything. So if you are a photojournalist, you should always acknowledge the photographer or the organization in where you get the photo. You can also include the technical details of how the photo was taken, like the aperture, the film speed, f-stop, lens, and etc. So next is do not be arrogant. So arrogance in captions comes when the person writing the caption doesn't care about the reader and simply writes a caption that is easy at the moment of writing. So this can also be considered being selfish because the writer cares more about themselves than the reader who is trying to interpret what the photo and story all about. So this can also happen when a writer is trying to be fancy and try something new or clever. So there is no need to get complicated. Just keep things simple, clear, and accurate. So next is avoid making judgmental statements. So captions should be informative, not judgmental or critical. So don't make assumptions based on their appearance in the photo. So for example, as you can see in the picture, it shows shoppers in the mall waiting in line to the cashier, and the writer captioned it as unhappy shoppers waiting in line in a New York grocery store. So it is wrong. You should not describe the people in the photo as unhappy unless you actually know they were unhappy. Because journalism is intended to be objective and informative. So next is consider using a caption writing formula. So until you get used to writing captions, you might want to start by using a specific formula. So eventually, your captions will likely follow this formula or something similar without you needing to think about it. But until then, rely on the formula to ensure you've included all the needed items. So the formula is you should include the noun, then the verb, the direct object, and then during, the proper event name, at proper noun location, in city, on, day of the week, month, date, year, and why or how. So this is the example caption using the formula. So this is the example caption using the formula. So Dahlia's firefighters is a noun, battle is a present tense verb, a fire is a direct object, at the Fitzhugh Apartments is a proper noun location, near the intersection of Fitzhugh Avenue and Monarch Street in Dahlias is a city, on Thursday is a day of the week, July is a month, 1 is a date, and 2004 is a year. So Dahlia's firefighters battle a fire at the Fitzhugh Apartments near the intersection of Fitzhugh Avenue and Monarch Street in Dahlias on Thursday, July 1, 2004. So that's how you write a caption using the given formula. So by using this formula, it will help you to include all the important details needed in the caption. And of course, most importantly, always remember to use the correct verb tenses, correct grammar, and correct punctuation mark in writing a caption. So I believe that ends my report. Thank you everyone for listening.